Welcome back, you all, to CHD 210, Educating Exceptional Children. Please remember that these are the textbooks over on the bookshelf that you will need. Some of you may have some questions about them, and this is the one that you purchased from the bookstore, Strategies Including Children with Special Needs. So this week, we're going to be discussing Chapter 9, Circle Time, which includes music and rhythm activities. Now, some of you may be asking, if you're new to the program, what exactly is circle time? Well, it's an opportunity for the classroom to come together as a community and participate in a large group activity. I can remember the first time that I watched what I considered a very effective circle time, and it was actually in a kindergarten classroom, and I thought then and there they were probably on the carpet in a very detailed, planned activity, but yet very flexible. And it probably lasted somewhere around 15 minutes. And I can remember thinking when the teacher got done, those children could go home for the day. Like, she covered so many objectives and concepts during that circle time, and the students were highly engaged. So lots of different activities can go on during circle time to enhance and support children's learning. Yet at the same time, there is a potential for development of some very challenging behaviors if you don't stay on top of planning, and especially if you have children with special needs in your classroom who require that predictability, that structure, that routine, maybe even some adaptations of some of the activities that go on during circle time. So let's talk a little bit more about what it looks like. So what exactly is circle time? Well, I gave you kind of a definition. It's a time when children gather as a group with their teachers to listen, actively participate. Now that's a big key word to me, those two words, actively participate, and share with each other. And it provides important opportunities for developmental learning in many areas. So what areas are we talking about? Well, we have rituals or things that are routines, that are concept development, that allows for concept development. And what I mean by that is, like, we do something the same exact way every time, so we're developing that concept. There's time for social development. A wonderful idea with this is, who's here today? Like, taking attendance during that time so that they recognize each other's names. Maybe you have cards with the children's names on them, and they recognize that. Speech and language development are stimulated as children listen to and discuss concepts. They ask and answer questions. And also number concept development can also be enhanced during circle time. How many children are here today? We count them after our attendance. How many boys? How many girls? How many people are going to dress up like a pumpkin? How many people are going to dress up like a black cat? Those kinds of things. So everything we're doing, we're asking them how many, or that type of opportunity. So during circle time, it's not a time for them just to sit and listen to you. Remember, I went back and I said there were two key words in the definition, and that was actively participate. Well, if you're actively participating, you're not sitting still and just listening. You're engaged, and you're also moving your body. And so part of circle time is music and movement. And music and movement really enhances circle time. It motivates the children. It keeps them engaged. It allows them to become aware of their bodies in a certain amount of space, that you just, and move to certain tempos and rhythms. Dancing, marching, shaking, stomping, clapping are just some of the things that you may see, and some of the actions that you can do during circle time. Most children love to move their bodies to music. Now, I'm going to tell you something right here, and y'all listen carefully to this. If you're the teacher and you want children to be doing music and movement during your circle time, and you sit there and don't participate, guess what they're going to do? Not participate. you have to model what it looks like. Okay, that's why when we're in our classrooms here on campus and we do music and movement songs, and I say, okay, y'all, you have to do it. Well, if you want the children to do it, you're going to have to do it as well. Okay, so this is just one example of a song. If you've been in my classroom before, you know I love the Learning Station, Don Monopoly, and he has some great songs that you can use for circle time. This is just one that I just pulled for you real quick. I'm going to play it, not the whole song, but I am going to play a couple verses of it so you can see what music and movement looks like, and a song that you could use in your circle. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. Oh, goodness. Let me see. Hold on. I really want y'all to see that. Hold on. I can't make that go away up there. Let's see. Oh, I can go back one right here. All right. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Now, I didn't click it correctly. I'm going to move it forward a little bit to get to right here where he starts. Oh yeah. One more time. Okay, so I hope you noticed it was a listen and then repeat song. Okay, what he was doing. Did you notice the change in inflection? Do you see the movement in his voice when they did baby style? They've changed it, and instead of saying, he said wah wah coo coo, and then as he kept going on, he changes up. So you really, it's engaging. The children have to listen. They get to do fun movements, and all the while with concept development. So that's just one example. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So what types of circle activities and adaptations for children with special needs? Well, we talked about doing attendance. Who is here today? Maybe just a greeting. Hello, 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 and how are you? I'm fine, I'm fine. Those kinds of songs, okay? Who's here? Going around and shaking hands with every child in the circle. Give me 5. That kind of thing. Maybe you have them a card, and if they're here, they go and they get their card from a certain place and they hang it on a chart, and then that's where you bring in that number development, you count it, okay? Classroom schedules and calendars. A lot of times in a preschool environment, calendar might be a part of a ritual of circle time, but be careful because calendars can be problematic for most children with special needs because they don't understand time concepts. And for that matter, a lot of preschool children don't, because it's kind of like in the future. Sometimes we talk about it, so we really might want to, especially when you're talking about things that happen in a week, long time, or a month. So we want to keep things kind of what's happening today, what happened yesterday from a recall perspective, and then maybe giving them an idea of what's going to be happening maybe the next day, but not a whole lot, you know, of in December, Santa Claus is going to come or whatever, you know, when it's just August, because we don't want to really confuse them that much. Songs and finger plays. We just talked about songs, but songs with words and actions support children with limited language skills. And we know that because it's teaching them new vocabulary words, listening, hearing different words. So that's a wonderful something to incorporate into your circle time. But now let's remember, it's an important activity. Every preschool or early childhood classroom should have one as far as circle time is concerned, but it can be very challenging for children with autism or sensory integration disorders. And we know why that is, because they get like there's too many children around them. We talked about that in our last chapter as well. Too much noise, too large of a group, too many children in close proximity to them. So it's especially with autism and sensory integration disorder. Okay, so what happens when maybe you have those children and they're wandering? They just get up and they wander off from circle time. How do we encourage them to stay put? Maybe we just say you stay for a limited amount of time. We give them a break card, meaning they just show us the card when they're feeling overwhelmed, and we let them get up. Some kind of a security object, a stuffed animal, a favorite toy, a blanket, whatever it is that makes them feel secure, maybe in an environment that makes them a little uneasy. A fidget toy is something like, like that you might squeeze, like one of those push balls, that kind of thing. Just, I'm feeling anxious, so let me squeeze something. And then weighted vest, a lap pillow, a weighted blanket, those types of things really may also help calm them down when they're feeling anxious. So what are the key dimensions of circle time? Well, the length. The length of circle should depend on the age and the developmental level of the children. Don't make it too long, because they're not going to stay engaged. Okay, so instead of, if you're wanting to introduce new concepts, maybe you should have 2 smaller circle times instead of 1 very large one. Okay, if you have a really, really large class of children, you may want to divide them in groups, smaller groups. Okay, the physical setting. How are you going to arrange their seating so that everybody has a seat? Okay, special needs children, they need defined spaces while they're sitting on the floor. Like, you're going to sit in this area, you're going to sit in this area, like, because remember we just talked about that close proximity business. So we want to make sure that they have that clearly defined space. Okay, so the way you configure your circle is critical for all children with special needs. Some children may need to be closer to the teacher, maybe like a child who has hearing loss, right? So they may need to be closer to you so they can hear you. And remember that your role, your teacher role, is planning, but also you got to be flexible. Okay, your job is to plan and to lead the circle time and every activity that goes on during that time. But you also have to keep the pace, you have to keep it flowing so that the children do not lose interest in it, and then take their cues. You may have 4 or 5 things planned, but their cues tell you that the children are getting off task after item number 2. Well, you need to be flexible. Okay, so although you're making those plans, if you're taking cues from your children, you may not always follow them exactly to a T, and that is okay. Okay, because you would rather follow the cues of the children so that they're engaged and just make children sit there, and then you have all these challenging behaviors that might occur. Okay, and sometimes the teachers just have to, if you're in one area and you notice that things are going on, you may need to move around the group if needed. Okay, in order to keep certain children engaged. Make sure that you have clearly defined circle time expectations. The children know what is to be expected. If you look on page 153 of your book, it has this picture of eyes are watching, lips are quiet, hands are to yourself, ears are listening, feet are still. Like, those are just really good things to have up and to remind children of. Balance your activities. Not everything should be music and movement, or not everything that you do that day should be sitting and listening to me talk. We need to have a balance. Okay. And then, of course, again, consistency with those routines, but being flexible when you know that you're reading those cues from those children. Okay. If they're wiggling a whole lot, then you know that a quiet activity might not be the thing. Like, you might need to reverse it and do music and movement first, get all their wiggles out, then sit down and listen to a story. Okay, so just be flexible. Flexibility is key. Okay, well, we have talked about circle time. If you watch this video, you should be able to answer all the questions on your Chapter 9 quiz. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next week.